I got an amazing deal on 5 classic cars which were owned by an elderly woman, but now I'm getting violent calls from her grandson who's a lawyer, and he's threatening to take me on a warpath to get the cars back. I'm close friends with a coworker, and we've helped his mother in her 80s with house maintenance. His mother's neighbor, I'll call her Elaine, was in her 90s in 2016, when Elaine's husband who was in a home died. While doing maintenance on my coworker's mother's house, I drove there in my 1975 Falcon, and Elaine came out to ask me to have a look at some cars I might like that had belonged to her husband. I won't go into detail except 3 were in good drivable condition and worth a decent figure, and 2 more were ruined but good parts cars. At the time I couldn't afford anywhere near what they were genuinely worth. 2 are at least in the top 5 desirable Australian classics. I told her what they could fetch on the open market, but she was happy to take $5,000 for all 5 cars, well under their value. She wanted to make sure they went to someone who would appreciate them, and I paid for and collected them a week later, and I still have the 3 good ones, 2 now on historic registration and the other in storage. Elaine passed away in the middle of this year, and her grandson is on the warpath over the cars. He's found my contact details and phoned me several times threatening to sue for effectively stealing the cars from his grandmother, and has turned up at my front door once demanding the return of the cars. I have not been served or received anything in writing from him in a legal sense, only his business card, which sounds dodgy. I've verified he's an actual lawyer as he claims through a website of his employer, which lists him with photo as specializing in commercial and insurance law just like his business card. I'd have expected if there was a real legal issue with the ownership of the cars it would be in relation to the grandmother's estate proceedings, and I'd be contacted by mail by someone acting as executor, not via phone calls and doorstop visits by one angry smug bastard acting like it's happening between me and him alone. Since I'm not a lawyer and my presumptions could be completely out, I'm posting here. If need be I could now afford the market price of all the cars. Is the grandson likely to have a case, and should I find a lawyer of my own? Update. I spoke with my coworker about the issue and he talked with his mother who clued me into her neighbor, Elaine, from my previous post, not having any grandsons. My coworker's mother is still in contact with Elaine's son and daughter as they own and still work on Elaine's old house next door. She put them in contact with me. They wanted to know who it was who was actually threatening what about the cars, as Elaine has no grandsons, and we spoke. They identified the lawyer grandson as an old ex. He was once a partner of but not married to one of Elaine's granddaughters for a few years. He's also known to be in a lot of debt, which might explain desperate hunting for valuable items. Elaine's son and daughter reiterated that their dad had left instructions to Elaine for the cars to go to someone who'd cherish them, and they were happy they did, and glad to hear from me that they're still being looked after together. I haven't contacted the faux grandson's law firm yet. I have a lot of evidence of his misrepresentations to me, and after Googling NSW law I'm not 100% sure of the legality of all of it, especially about sharing my home security and dashcam recordings directly to the other firm, or even speaking directly to them. I'll go through my own legal representation there as a filter on what I need to give them to make sure they know of his behavior linked to their firm. Edit. The fake grandson came around twice more. I now have multiple records of him visiting my residence, threats via text and many phone calls to me after I asked him to not contact me again except in writing. Complaints have been made through my lawyer to his firm and relevant regulatory bodies. I informed him of the complaints on Thursday and reiterated not to contact me again, and I haven't heard a peep from him since. Last edit. Fake grandson had already been dismissed from the firm before my lawyer and I complained, and he already has complaints against him for other reasons.